Um, we already talked about new keyword. We already talked about this keyword. We made the function. We already know what the prototype is, what the underscore proto underscore is, how they are linked together, how functions work as a functions, and how functions work as a prototype. And now I'm gonna go over class. Okay, so if you didn't watch my uh, already videos, be sure to watch them to understand this video, otherwise you are not gonna get this at all, because it's totally based on the previous videos. Okay, let's dive in. First, what is class were introduced in ECMAScript. It were in ES 2015 as well. Classes are like template objects which are used to encapsulate data. Encapsulation is basically the hiding of data, and we're going to see how it hides the data in encapsulation. Let's make it a split. We're gonna get this code over here, and we already know how it's working. Score is increasing. Okay, we're passing 4, we increment it. Okay, so I'm gonna first give you the concept that the classes in ES6 implement the same way, exactly the same thing that we did with this. Okay, without new keyword, what was the code, you know, and with the new keyword, you know what is this. The ES6 class syntax does under the hood the same thing, exactly the same thing what this is, but it's just like the advanced syntax, or like you can say that change of syntax. Okay, so we're gonna see how they are like same, how they implement the same functionality with the classes. Let's comment out this code. So let's declare a class user creator. Okay, so every class has a function called constructor. So if I placeholder this, I would call it a constructor. Okay, if I call like placeholder or something, it would act as a constructor. So so the constructor function would do the same thing what this function is doing over here. Okay, and the constructor, I'm going to pass in constructor to this constructor name and score, and inside of that I'm gonna say that this dot name is equal to name, and this dot score is equal to score. Okay, and you know, over here what we did is like when we wrote this code, we use, we know that the functions are objects as well, and how they are objects is because their underscore proto is linking to a prototype which is an object, and we can attach methods to it, right? Instead, but we are writing this prototype and attaching on methods to prototype by separately from this user creator function, right? But we are not gonna write separately from over here, and we're gonna define it in a class, and this is the same thing that we are gonna do over here, but without this user creator and dot prototype. We don't have to write this, and we don't even have to write a function, but under the hood it is doing the same thing what this function what this method is doing over here. Okay, so believe me, this is going to do the same thing what is doing that over here. So I'm gonna do is this dot score to be plus plus, and I'm gonna say login to be this, I'm gonna say login to be console log, and you are logged in. Okay, so you can see we don't have to like write user creator dot prototype, or and even we don't have to write the function keyword. You can see this is a method which is attached to user creator, right? The method is what attached to our like object bit. Okay, and we have made our class, we added the function to it, we added add methods to it as well, and now we can make an object out of this. Okay, so I'm gonna make a user1 is equal to user creator. Okay, I'm gonna pass in fill, and I'm gonna pass in 4, or like for this time I'm gonna pass in 6 to see the clarity. So one more thing, so whenever I call this function user creator, or not function, whenever I call this class, okay, whenever I call this class and pass in this arguments, the and make a object of it, so what it does is this constructor function is automatically called, right? What I'm saying is whenever I call this class and pass in some arguments, or make a user or instance of it, you can say, you can instance of it, whenever you make an instance of a class, the constructor of that class is automatically called. Okay, whenever you make an instance of any class, this constructor function is automatically called. So when I call this class, you can see like you can see on hover class user creator, and so whenever I call this constructor function is automatically be called, and these parameters are going to be these arguments are going to be passed into these parameters. Okay, and they are going to do the same stuff that is doing over here, create the user and return the object by itself. Oh, and we have to like write new attach the new keyword to it, so this would automatically create a new object and return that, otherwise it won't do that. And then we added the objects to it, and let's increase the score of user1 by 1 dot increment. Okay, and I'm gonna console log user1. Okay, let's see it. So got that the score was 6, now it got increased to 7. Let's expand this prototype. When we expanded this prototype, you can see there's a constructor function which is taking in 2 parameters, name and score. I'm gonna expand this more, and you can see this is a length of 2 parameters, name, prototype. Then we have an object bit of that class. This is a function, and this is a object bit of that. And in object bit we added 2 functions. These are 2 functions that increment and login, right? Okay, so these don't have any parameters, so the length is 0, increment does not have any there, so this is also 0. And inside of that we have another prototype which has some other functions that are like apply, call, bind, which we are gonna cover in like future lessons when I'm gonna cover the subclassing. Okay, so I'm gonna cover these apply and call functions and toString as well. So we're gonna see that what they do and what is their working. Es6 Class Syntax is not doing anything special or something magic. It's doing the same thing under the hood of what I have written. This over here is just the change of the syntax, and it's like masking. So wait, It's like what I was explaining is encapsulation. It's encapsulation is like hiding or masking the stuff. So how we are masking is we're just saying it's increment, and we don't know how and we don't know that it is actually using the object bit of the user creator function. Okay, and by and just attach to the prototype, and this is how it is masked. And the constructor function is like also masked. We don't know this is a function uh, exactly, but it's a function. We know it. Everybody does not know it, but we know it. Hopefully you got a little bit of help from this. See you in the next lesson.